Yeah, Dallas Cowboys, they have to be one of the most overrated teams in the NFL. They're talked about more than anything. Dak Prescott is so overhyped. At one point, people actually considered him a top 10 quarterback. I've never considered him that high. I've always looked at him to be in the bottom tier of quarterbacks because you got to understand when he first came in, he was loaded. His team was loaded. He had a tier 1 running back. He had a great offensive line. He had a great offensive play coordinator, offensive coordinator. I've never considered him great. I consider great when you go to a team that needs you in terms of you pulling them up on your shoulder. You're carrying a team. Dak is not that guy to carry a team, and it gets me upset when people poo-poo on Cousins, the quarterback for Minnesota Vikings. I would argue. I don't even need to argue. Statistically, just from a quarterback standpoint and a leadership standpoint, I would take Cousins any day over Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott has been overhyped. It first started off with Skip Bayless on his show, Undisputed, talking up Dak. And of course, now, currently, Skip Bayless does not believe in Dak anymore. If you listen to his comments recently, he's like, look, I'm out on him. But I've been out on Dak. I mean, he's okay. I mean, he's not a bad quarterback. He's not the quarterbacks for the Jets. He's not Wilson. He's not Zach Wilson. But he's hyped as if he's a top 5 quarterback. Can you win with Dak? Hell no, you can't win with him. It's obvious. He's a turnover machine. He's a turnover waiting to happen. He's been in the league this long. He still can't read defenses. Nah, there's something not right. In big games, he shrinks. But yeah, people talk about Cousins shrinking in big games. Cousins is a far better quarterback than Dak. And I just find it very... I think it's all propaganda and what the media drives, and people end up talking about Dak so much. I think if you don't talk about him enough, I would take Baker over Dak. I'm serious. Dak is not that great of a guy. He's not that great of a quarterback. He really isn't. I mean, look at what Brock Purdy did to the Dallas Cowboys recently. Could you imagine if Dak had a game like Brock? Dak would be talked about as if he was the second coming of Tom Brady. That's how overhyped he is. They overhype everything he does, but they undersell the negatives. Like they don't put the same amount of energy in the negative play. I mean, people talk about it, of course, but I don't think people give it the same amount of attention and energy. Because when he plays good, it's great. When he plays great, oh my God, he's the best quarterback ever, kind of thing. I think that's the scales in which they used to rate him are just so disproportionately imbalanced. They're not balanced. They're not correct. It's not full of objectivity. I don't care if he's the quarterback of quote-unquote America's team. And I think that's saying something that they call Dallas America's team because they don't win. And America is not winning either. So Dak is overhyped. He's overrated. Dallas is overhyped. They're overrated. I mean, they've managed to, for a couple of years now, maybe 2 or 3 years now, feast upon the weakness of their division, of the NFC. But the NFC is getting stronger now. You have the increased level of play from San Francisco. They've actually improved from last year, if you ask me. They've gotten better. You have Philadelphia Eagles, who just came out of the Super Bowl. They're playing very well right now. I think they're 5-0. You have Detroit. They've increased their game. You can't count out Minnesota either. They may not be undefeated right now, but that's not a team that you can just go in and say, oh, it's a W on our schedule. I mean, the parity in football is crazy as it is. So there's no game that's a gimme. I don't think there is. There's certain games that may come across as being easy, but we understand there's so many factors. There's so many factors that contribute to why a team may lose. You have injuries. You have time of play, time of rest. Are you coming off of a short week? Did you just come off of an emotional win? A lot of the times when you come off of an emotional win, it's emotionally draining. And we understand that football is an emotional game. As much as it is physical, it's also emotional and mental. It taps into all phases of the human biome. So it's very important to factor all those things in. And again, these are all strong men that are athletes. Now, what differentiates teams a lot is who's the better quarterback. Usually the better quarterback will usually win, more often than not. There's some times where you will get an outlier where the subpar quarterback wins, maybe because the team of the better quarterback turns over the ball too much, they missed field goals, they did certain things that were very uncharacteristic of what they are known for. So you got to factor all those things in. But with that said, I can't imagine Dallas being this team that people talk about. I just think it's tiresome. It's tiring. Everyone talks about them, win, lose, or draw. There's so many other teams that require that same amount of attention. No one's talking about the great job that Detroit's doing this year. Remember, Detroit used to be the laughingstock of the NFL. They're actually winning. They look like a competent team. People aren't talking about the elevated play of Houston Texans. The quarterback, C.J. Stroud, doing a very, very great job as a rookie. No one's talking about that. When I say no one, I'm using hyperbolic language. Of course, certain people are talking about it. What I'm trying to say or illustrate to you guys is that it's not given the amount of attention that it needs. And I think most of the NFL's energy is geared towards what Dallas does. And I think that it's crazy because they haven't won anything, and people talk about Dallas as if they are a modern-day dynasty. It's incredible. It's incredible. They may not even make the playoffs this year. If you look at their schedule, the fourth hardest schedule coming down the stretch, they're like a little bit a quarter over the season. They've already played more than 4 games. So they beat up on the bad teams. So let's see what they do against good teams. The thing about Dallas is that they are not competitive at all against good teams. They're competitive. They beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and they get trounced. They get trampled by good teams. And that disparity and that drastic radical shift is very alarming for a team that's supposed to be a good team. Consistent teams, even though you may lose. I'm sure San Francisco is going to lose a couple of games this year. And if they do go undefeated, great for them. But I'm not pushing for that. I don't care if they do go undefeated, but they will lose a couple of games. How you lose matters. If you lose competitively, then you know you're still in it. When you get demolished, then you have to ask yourself, are we as good as we think we are? And I don't foresee San Francisco getting demolished. With, barring any serious injuries to their main players, I don't see them getting demolished. Because on all levels, they're great. From head coach to quarterback to O-line to D-line to their secondary, they are a complete team. They're the most complete team in the NFL. That's the teams we should be talking about, not Dallas freaking Cowgirls. I'm tired of it. Dak is overrated. They could stick a peanut at quarterback. The peanut to get more airplay than anything else. They gotta stop this. It's insane. It's insanity. All right? Stop talking about Dallas. Talk about Dallas when we win a Super Bowl or get close to winning one. Then we can have a conversation. All right?